Good morning. Thank you so much for joining me this morning for this morning mindfulness practice. Just allow yourself to relax, to let go of anything that you're hanging on to. Oftentimes you can tell by where you are tight. Do you have any strain? Allow the muscles of your jaw to relax. Put a little smile on your face. Allow your shoulders to come down. Feel supported by the chair that you're sitting on. Maybe you're still lying in bed. Enjoy this moment of peace and calm, and set an intention for the day that today will be full of peace and calm and effortlessly flow. Take a deep breath in and let that go. You are safe. You are protected. You can allow what you want to come to you as you get into alignment. Your mind, the thoughts that you think, the ideas that come to you are in alignment with your deep, heartfelt desires. And you are brave enough, courageous enough, smart enough, and worthy enough to take action so that the universe rewards you, gives you a different reaction, brings you a new outcome, shows you that you really are capable of bringing to your experience whatever you desire. I'm sure you've heard of the law of attraction. It's actually a secondary law. The law of the universe is the law of vibrational energy. Everything vibrates, nothing rests. Everything vibrates at a certain frequency. And as a human being, you can emit all kinds of frequencies, some of peace and calm, some of happiness and joy, some of anticipation, but you can also go the opposite direction and anticipate dread. You could be vibrating with anxiety and fear. You could do the opposite. You can be in faith. Fear and faith are both invisible energies, and we believe in the invisible. You might have thought of all kinds of things that you're afraid of. Just let them go. They're invisible. You're making them up in your mind. If you can make things up in your mind that you're afraid of, you can make things up in your mind that you would absolutely love, and have faith that whatever you desire is on its way to you. That takes relaxing and purposefully thinking about how it would be like to be happy, to have perfect health and vitality that allows you to do what you want to do, accomplish the ideas that you hold in your mind, not worrying about how it's going to happen, but as you get into alignment, as your thoughts, your energy, your body all start to vibrate in the same vibrational frequency as your goal already achieved. Whatever you desire is yours. How grateful would you be for that to be your life? To be living the way you want to be living? How would you be feeling? What would it look like for you to be happy and healthy and wealthy enough to do what you want to do without worrying about where the next dollar is coming from? The universe wants us to have an abundant life. It is infinite. It is always supporting us in making this a reality. Your reality is based on how you've been programmed to think and feel and act. And you can change that programming just like you can change the language in a computer, but you have to go to the subconscious mind. What would you love to install in your subconscious mind that would allow everything to come to you just by knowing it's possible, feeling what it would be like, and acting as if you were already there? Bob Proctor was my mentor, and he expected big things would happen for him. When I say big, I mean something that would shift his business in a way that would forever change the way he did things and help him to reach and impact more people than he ever had. Bob Proctor often told this story. He studied every single day. He studied himself. He studied the universal laws and how they applied. And he had an inner knowing. He developed an inner knowing because of the studying he did. And he would say he not only gained knowledge, he applied this material. He studied every single day the laws of the universe, the vibrational energy, the law of attraction. He had a discipline, or every day he had a morning routine. He would tell us the most important way to start your day is take a pen and paper and write down 10 things that you are grateful for. Now, some days that might feel impossible. Some days you could write pages of what you're grateful for. But if you could write 10 things a day that you are truly grateful for, and you might start out with, I am so happy and grateful that I woke up today. I have eyes to see. This is a brand new day, one that has never before been lived. Today is full of opportunities. If I just get into alignment with what I want, and I know everything will come to me at the right time when I am ready to receive. To get into that spirit of gratitude and knowing that you are attracting what you want, you must be grateful for what you've already accomplished, what you already have. So often we attain a goal, or we are living in a beautiful environment, and we take it for granted. We forget that what we've accomplished now is something that we only dreamed of when we were a little kid. Maybe you are an adult owning your own home. Maybe you have the career that you thought of when you were a little kid. You always wanted to be a firefighter, a teacher, a mother. What have you got to be thankful for today? Did you wake up in a beautiful, comfortable bed? Not everyone does. You might have a closet filled with clothes. Some days you go to the closet and it's stuffed and you say, I have nothing to wear. Be grateful that you have clothes in your closet, food in your cupboard, maybe a hot cup of coffee or tea. You could be thankful for hot and cold running water, reliable electricity, a reliable vehicle. It might not be your most prized possession or what you truly want, but it gets you from point A to point B. And if you want a new car, you can start to pretend that the vehicle you're driving is the beautiful vehicle that you want. A brand new Cadillac or Lexus or Ferrari or red truck. It doesn't matter what it is. When you start to practice, you already have what you desire, how happy you are, how grateful you are. Notice you start to see that particular vehicle everywhere you look. The reticular activating system in your brain sees red trucks or Cadillacs or Ferraris wherever you look. Your mind shows you what you've been thinking about. In your gratitude, you could be grateful for a job that you have, even if you don't like it. Be grateful that it's paying the bills. And if you practice being the best version of yourself and doing your best work always, you will outgrow the position you have and you'll be offered a promotion, or you'll find something better that suits you, something that you would prefer. What kind of purposeful work would you be doing if you had the opportunity? Be grateful for where you are, and then write down what you truly want. It's so easy to imagine. Use your imagination for what you want instead of against yourself. Imagine if you're earning $10,000 a year, what would you do if you were earning $10,000 a month? How would that change your life? You wouldn't have to worry about debt. After you took care of your needs, your debt, your loved ones, things that you want, what would you do with the extra? How would you be helping people? You can take your mind wherever you want. Bob Proctor would tell us, after you wrote out a list of 10 things to be grateful for, and you got into a vibrational energy of love, gratitude, appreciation, you change the energy, you change the energetic vibration that your body is in. And you can focus on something that you would really love, or your loved ones, or your pet, and fill yourself up with that love. Think about someone or something that is really precious to you. The unconditional love of your pet, maybe a favorite grandparent, whether they're still here on this earthly plane or they've transitioned. Open your heart to that beautiful love. And then, in this state of divine love that you are filled with, your heart is open. Send love to 3 people who are bothering you. Don't allow them to take up space in your head and in your heart. Forgive what they've done and release them to their highest good so that you can be released to your best life and your highest good. And then sit still for 5 minutes and ask for guidance for the day. You have an inner guidance system. You have an inner knowing, and you can develop that. Develop your intuition, develop your faith by studying and applying the knowledge. Bob Proctor studied every day something from the book Think and Grow Rich. He was given his first copy on October 21st, 1961. And he studied parts of Think and Grow Rich every day his entire life. He passed away at the age of 87, and he was still learning and studying. That book changed his life, but he would say hundreds of thousands of people have read Think and Grow Rich and put it back on the shelf, and it didn't change their life at all. He applied the concepts, and he taught that when you change your mind, when you change your heart, when you change your actions, you create a ripple in the universe. And what you cause becomes different effects in your life. You can change the results in your life, the outcomes that you see, by starting with your mind, your deep desire for what you do want, and getting into the feeling and seeing the picture clearly of what you desire. And then taking actions from the place of the goal already attained, the wish fulfilled, from that end result, the vehicle you want, the house you want, the purposeful work that you would prefer, how you spend your money and your leisure time, your time with your family, how you will be acting and living from that end result. Not worrying about how are you going to get there, but now that you're there, how do you feel? What are you doing? How are you living? I'll tell you a little story that Brian Proctor wrote in his book, My Father Knew the Secret, growing up with Bob Proctor. And Brian tells the story that in 2005, the opportunity arose for Bob Proctor to be in the movie The Secret. By that time, Bob Proctor had been in the personal and professional development space for 45 years. He had been traveling all over the world, giving seminars and teaching in boardrooms. He had already spent many years working hard in an effort to reach more people and change more lives. And for many of those years, he was away from home more than he was at home. There were years that he was flying from Toronto to Kuala Lumpur, the capital of Malaysia, and every 3 weeks he would go there to work with the Malaysian airline group. Being in the personal and professional development realm for that long, Bob Proctor was an example of the material that he taught. But it was the movie The Secret that propelled Bob Proctor and his message to millions of people onto a worldwide stage, seemingly overnight. This massive opportunity came about and changed everything for Bob Proctor. Brian tells what he loves about this story is that the movie is based on the law of attraction. And for Brian, that there's no better example of the law of attraction than how Bob Proctor came to be in that movie. In the spring of 2005, Bob Proctor was in an airport between flights, and he called his longtime friend and executive assistant, Gina Hayden. Gina at that time had worked closely with Bob for 20 years. They spoke multiple times a day. Bob called Gina because his voicemail was full and he needed her help clearing out the messages. One message was broken up and difficult to understand. Bob thought it sounded like it was a number from Australia, and it might have been from someone named Glenda about a movie. After clearing out the voicemails, Gina called Bob back to discuss an interesting conversation she had with the woman named Glenda from Australia. Glenda is actually the sister of Rhonda Byrne, who created The Secret. Glenda told Gina that a film crew from Australia was shooting a movie and they would like to have Bob Proctor in it. She said the crew planned to return to Australia in a few weeks, but they were shooting in Aspen, Colorado the following weekend. They had been trying to reach Bob Proctor for over a month. Well, it just so happened that Bob Proctor was doing a seminar in Aspen that very same weekend. So all he had to do was walk from one hotel across the street to another. Rhonda Byrne's team added Bob Proctor to their filming lineup, and he added the time to his itinerary. When he arrived in Aspen and sat down to meet the film crew for the first time, he realized they had done their research and they knew he had been in business for a long time. The movie was based on The Little Green Book, which happened to be The Science of Getting Rich by Wallace D. Wattles. Bob Proctor knew this book intimately, and he taught The Science of Getting Rich. And I love that program too. The Science of Getting Rich, along with many other books, had been in Bob Proctor's daily study rotation for over 40 years. He knew the book inside and out, and he taught many of the principles that Wallace wrote about. So the crew for the movie The Secret gave him a brief overview of what they were aiming for. Bob didn't like working with teleprompters, so instead he asked them some questions. And they asked him a bunch of questions. After he answered the questions, he asked if he could record something for them unscripted. He said, well, they could use it or not. It was up to them. He spoke from the heart about everything he had studied and taught for the past 45 years. If you ever saw Bob Proctor on stage, you know how information flows to and through him. And that's exactly what happened in the afternoon in Aspen, Colorado. He recorded a 20-minute piece on the law of attraction in one take. It was flawless. The crew was blown away. They loved the additional footage so much that they offered it as a bonus segment on the DVD of the movie. Bob Proctor was back in his hotel room across the street in just over an hour. That's how fast things can happen. When you know what you want, you visualize it, and you work towards it every single day. Months later, Rhonda Byrne's team finished editing the movie The Secret and sent a copy of the DVD to Toronto, where Bob and Linda lived. And that DVD sat on their counter for weeks until Bob said to his wife, "We really should watch this." Bob Proctor knew immediately that this movie would impact millions of people after they finished watching it. He said, "This is going to be bigger than any of us can imagine." And he was right. Another interesting piece of this story is Rhonda Byrne did not have funds to pay the people who agreed to be in the movie. Yet, in true Bob Proctor fashion, he didn't care about that. What he wanted was to get this message out to a larger audience. Other teachers were asked to be in The Secret, but they declined when they knew they wouldn't be compensated for their time. But Bob Proctor lived his life following universal laws, and he understood the law of cause and effect. He knew that what you send out comes back. He lived focused on the law, on the cause, and he let the effect show up. He didn't get paid for that hour in Aspen, but he sure got rewarded. Bob Proctor stood out in that movie. His authenticity resonated with millions of people, and suddenly the phone began to ring off the hook. He became known as one of the world's most significant law of attraction experts. He spoke on Larry King twice, The Ellen DeGeneres Show, Nightline. People asked him to speak all over the world: Colombia, China, Peru, Romania, Brazil. Everyone wanted Bob Proctor. He was ready and had been waiting. He had been expecting this. Are you expecting what you truly desire? Understand that what you want is already here. What you must do is get in harmony with it. And you do that with your thinking. Create an affirmation, something like, "I am the one who controls my thoughts and what I choose to think about." Whatever you desire, once you truly believe that it's meant for you and you start acting like you already have it in your mind, getting emotionally involved and expecting it with eager anticipation, you will have everything your heart desires. Apply your knowledge. Don't just gain knowledge. Create a wonderful day. Thank you for joining me in this morning mindfulness practice. Enjoy your day, and I'll see you back here tomorrow morning at 7. Thank you.